What would have happened if John Marston died in Chapter 1? Now, for those who don't know, John gets lost in the snow during Chapter 1 right at the beginning of Coulter. And he's there for 2 days. And after Javier and Arthur go to save him, we find out that John got attacked by wolves and his horse died. And he was just sitting there injured for 2 days. Now, one of the reasons why I wanted to make this video, that never made sense to me. How could John survive in sub 20 temperatures with no horse after being attacked by wolves and somehow managed to survive that? That was always kind of suspicious to me. And it kind of felt unrealistic that the only reason they made him survive was obviously because of Red Dead 1, which I'm not saying that's a bad thing. And today we're going to be going over what would have happened if John died in this scenario. Now, there's 5 things I think would have happened. Number 1, Abigail and Jack are widowed. Basically, Abigail and Jack are basically forced to stay in the gang because without John, they have nothing. They have a little bit of money, but other than that, they have nothing. I mean, yeah, you could argue they could still go build Beecher's Hope, but how on earth is Abigail going to get the money when John had most of their money? And they were in a gang too, so most of the money is for the community. Sorry about that. Community. And I also think that Jack would definitely have a rougher childhood. He already does have one. And that brings us to number 2. Jack's childhood is easier. With them being forced to still be in the gang until the ending, without being saved, it is likely they probably would have been on the run for a long, long time. However, Abigail and Jack weren't really wanted, so I think they probably could have settled down eventually after the heat died down, unless one of the gang members went for them. However, I do think that Jack's childhood would be way harder without his father, and I do think the family would be broke considering they didn't have John. So, while yes, Jack wouldn't be able be wanted, and he wouldn't have to go through that, he still would have a very rough childhood. Number 3, some of the gang members don't die. For example, Dutch, Javier, and Bill. However, I think Dutch and Bill would have eventually died because Bill had one of the biggest gangs in America at the time, and Dutch had a humongous gang and was doing multiple robberies, and he wasn't even trying to settle down like he is in Red Dead 2. Obviously, he has completely lost it at this point. And I think they both would have gotten caught eventually after some time. However, I think Javier would remain on the run because he was working with the government, like John. Then again, there is a little chance they would betray him like the American government did with John. However, I'm not sure. Number 4, Jack doesn't have a revenge arc that ruins his life. After the mission, The Last Enemy That Shall Be Destroyed, Abigail ends up dying 3 years later, and we get to play as Jack. Now, this mission is technically optional, but I've never seen someone not play it. There's a stranger mission, technically a stranger mission, but it's basically a normal mission, called Remember My Family, where you go to hunt Edgar Ross. This wouldn't happen because Edgar Ross and John would have never met. So, that means Jack, I guess, would have a little bit better adult life. However, still kinda iffy. Number 5, and our last reason, Abigail would have gotten depressed way earlier. She would have a lot of people said she quote-unquote died from sadness. If this is the case, she probably would have done it sooner in Red Dead Redemption. And it is unfortunate to say, but who knows? Maybe she could have gotten over it unlike Red Dead 1. Anyway, that's going to be about it for today's video. Hope you guys have an amazing day. I just wanted to thank you guys on the recent videos. Even though this one wasn't submitted to me, I just want to put this out there. Thank you guys for submitting video ideas. I in the comments. I am going to be doing one of them. The next one after this video is either going to come out after or before this. It's going to this video is either gonna come out after what would have happened if like Arthur never found out Micah was a rat, or before, which was made by I'll announce who like commented that in next video or before this video. Anyway, that's gonna be for today's video. Have an amazing day. Please subscribe so we can get to 250 by the end of December. Have an amazing day. Goodbye.